Welcome into Pressbox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles at Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. And we are brought to you by the Costas Inn with two great locations, North Point Boulevard and the Timonium Fairgrounds. Very happy to have with us former big league skipper with the St. Louis Cardinals and San Diego Padres, Mike Shildt. Mike, welcome to the show.
Dan, pleasure to be with you, sir.
Very good to meet you. I've admired your work from afar. You've taken this new position with the Orioles, and it's called Upper Level Minor League Coordinator of Instruction. Tell me what that means, that it designates that it's upper level. Does that mean that you're going to be working exclusively with guys that are closer to the major leagues?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what it means. Effectively, I'm in big league camp now, being able to be around Albie, who's a stud, by the way, and the major league staff, find out operationally how they want things taught, fundamentally, bunt plays, first and third, fly ball communication, etc. And then partner with our player development group, Jeff Kunkel, our field coordinator, Tim Fedorovich, our AAA manager, Robert Mercado, our AA manager, and spend time making sure that the style of play that they want and the ability to execute at a high level consistently is taking place. So when guys get called up to the big club, they understand how to go compete and will help us win games.
Is that something that you feel or they felt was missing from the organization, Mike? That
I
that
can't.
that polishing off of a player and his.
Yeah, Stan. I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to say what they felt like they were missing, but I know they created the position, and I was blessed enough to be able to be in a position to accept it, and it's right in the wheelhouse of my experience and also my desire where I'm at in my life and career. So I don't, I know that, with the new manager and how he is looking to operate fundamentally and how they're looking to win games in a lot of different ways. It's my job to help supplement that.
Who came to who? In other words, I know you've known Mike Elias a good while. Did
Right.
he come to you, or did you sort of say, "Hey, Mike, do you have anything?" Or how did it come about?
Yeah, when I made the decision I made, it was a leap of faith to know that I would have the opportunity to do something like this. This was my vision. Um, and a leap of faith that the phone would ring. I've never been a big networker, Stan. And I wasn't in a position where I felt like I needed to go look for anything. I wanted to let it come to me, so to speak. And Matt Blood, who I've known Matt since he was at Chapel Hill, and then he was in the Cardinal organization. And of course, Mike Elias, I've known Mike for a long time from the St. Louis organization and SIG as well. And Matt reached out and first of all was, hey, congratulations on a nice career. Well done type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great. And then he followed up with, what are you interested in? And I explained what I was interested in. And he said, you would really go to the minor leagues
Mm-hmm.
and you're sincere about wanting to teach the game, not only to the players, but also help round out staff and your experiences of what it looks like to be at the big league level and compete at a high level. And I said, absolutely. And I think people were surprised by that. But it's exactly what I was looking for. So Matt Blood started the dialogue, and then there was dialogue with Mike Elias a little bit, and then Craig called, Albie called, and I talked to Sig, and I talked to Jeff Kunkel, and I talked to Anthony Villa, our farm director. But the cherry on top for me was I got a chance to reconnect with a guy that I ended up knowing since I was 12 years old, and that was Mr. Ripken. And Cal called, and it was just like a dream come true.
Tell me about your relationship with Cal, because I remember reading a little bit about it, but it goes all the way back to your days in Charlotte.
It does. So in 1980,
Yeah.
Cal was on the AA club. He's 19 years old. And Stan, he's playing third base. Um, and no surprise to anybody, but Cal played every single game Played 144 days,
Right.
144 games. And Charlotte's similar to Baltimore. My dad's from Baltimore. My mom's from the Eastern Shore, Salisbury. And so anyway, I got a chance to shine his shoes every day, and he'd be the first guy in the ballpark. No surprise. He'd come out and get his early work, regardless of the humidity of um, Charlotte, North Carolina in the summer, which is pretty oppressive. And I'd go out and I'd shag balls for him, and he'd take ground balls and occasionally invite me in to take a few grounders with him. And like I said, we won the league, and so he goes up and does his thing in 82, 83, Rookie of the Year, MVP. He wins the World Series. 83, I show up, and my aunt Becky had passed away at the beginning of the White Sox series, and my mom, like I said, Liv, was the administrative assistant over there at Charlotte, and she knew the front office in Baltimore, and a lot of those guys come through there, and she drops me off at the ballpark at the Mall Memorial Stadium, and John Shelby T-Bone comes over to me and says, "Mike, what's up, man?" I'm like, "What's up, T-Bone?" T-Bone was my guy too, and because he used to shag with me, he had his toothpick in, just kind of chilling out, and he goes, "Hey, man, the guys who want to see you come on the clubhouse." I'm like, "You guys are like getting ready for the playoffs."
Right.
So he brings me in the clubhouse, Dan, and I go in and I see Boddicker and Storm Davis and some of the guys I knew, and that was great. And I'm like, I probably should get out of here, and I'm leaving. The old clubhouse Memorial Stadium, one door over there, and Cal's doing a radio interview, and he's not blocking the door, but I got to go around him to get out, and I'm not going to bother Cal. I hadn't seen him since '80, and he's going to do some pretty good things, and he puts his big paw on me and stops me in the middle of the radio interview and like gives me the sign to stop. And I'm like, look up at him, and the interview's over. And he says, "Mike," and he always would kid me about my feet because I had bigger feet, but I was a little kid. He's like, "I see you're growing into your feet." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "How you been?" I'm like, "Good." And he goes, "Let me introduce you to our radio guy, John Miller." And John Miller's like, "Hey,
Another Hall of Famer.
no question, right?" And he goes,
Yeah.
"Hey, little fella, how you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, good." And so that was '83. Obviously, they win it, and then I'm at the game in '95 when he ties and breaks the streak.
Right.
Those are good stories too, Stan. We don't have time for it because it take longer than we have. How I got in the game, but it's entertaining, and maybe I'll tell you off air or on air another time because it's kind of interesting and fun. So anyway, I was telling Cal this yesterday. He breaks the record officially.
Right.
You have the amazing rightful celebration. The game resumes. Tim Salmon comes up. The first foul ball that's hit after the game's official of Tim Salmon, who has got the same birthday, different year, August 24th, as Cal, fouls the ball off. I get the foul ball. Okay.
That's
2000. My mom puts together a union of the 80 Club, 20-year union of the 1980 Southern League Championship Club. Cal comes in. I'm standing at the door. I hadn't seen this guy in 17 years. I'm 32 years old. Walks right up to me and says, "Mike, how you been?"
hmm,
I said, "Cal, I got a ball I'd like you to sign." And he signs the ball. And so he came back to Charlotte for different things and after his playing career. So I'd connect with him there. And then, I get to manage in the big leagues. And one of my favorite moments of my career was coaching third for the Cardinals and coming into Baltimore. That was cool. But then 2 years ago in 24, managing the Padres, we came in and played a 3-game series, and that was like, man, I just had to pinch myself. And then Cal's behind home plate, and I go out to make a pitching change, and I'm walking back in. I look over, and we kind of met eyes, and he's like, and so it was really cool. So, it's a full circle moment now to be able to reconnect with him and share some good times and prepare to have some more memorable Orioles moments.
one question about your job. Does Mike Shildt's version of how baseball should be played, is that part of this, or do you defer to how Craig Albernaz wants things done?
Oh, it's Greg Albernaz. He's the
Okay.
skipper. He's the skipper. And it's a similar role that I had for Tony La Russa in St. Louis, and it's one of the roles I've enjoyed the most in my career, and that's being um, a conduit for the big league club and a transferring of the style of play that the big league manager and Albie and his staff want. And that's why I'm in big league camp. My job is to take notes, ask questions. They want to ask a question about my philosophy about something, then yes, I'll be more than happy to share that. But he's the skipper, and the skipper and how they want to play. That's been, and I believe firmly in this, that gets transferred into player development, and then it trickles down to trickle back up. And so Albie and his staff will trickle things down. I'll be a conduit for that. And my job with player development is to make sure we trickle it back up to where the version of what they want fundamentally when they show up in Camden or they show up on the road or they're playing a Sunday night baseball game or we're in game 7 of the World Series and guys who've come through the system, they know how to play the game.
Mike, the game today, the economics have dictated that a lot of players get rushed to the major leagues because of economics. What is missing from how they know how to play the game?
Stan, I mean, I'll give you again. It's a great question, and it's spot on, and it's real, um, and it's a couple layers to it. The players now are just physically more skilled. They're stronger. The things of many that I appreciate about how the game has evolved, the recovery, the performance, the skill training, the measurable, the technology, all these things from a younger amateur player have now allowed players to be more advanced physically than ever at maybe the sacrifice, including from the amateur game, of more of a fundamental play to the scoreboard type of baseball. And so you get that coming through the minor league system. And it used to be, there was, and I'm not saying these adages are correct,
Yeah.
but in general, 8, 10 years ago, a guy needed 1,000 plate appearances. Well, they're just not, they needed to, go step by step. Low A, rookie ball, low A ball, double A, triple A, big leagues, and then talking about Cal, it's what Cal basically did.
Yep.
Full season in Charlotte, full season in Rochester, gets the call up at the end of the year, 82, boom, here we go. He's ready to go. Rookie of the year. Based on the economics and based on the physicality of the ability of players, they just move so fast. And that's okay, which means the emotional and the mental and the comprehension of things that come with being a successful big league player is harder to get in a shorter window in their development. And so, it's not going to change. We just need to be intentional about accelerating that on the player development side so that their learning curve is always going to take place, always going to be a learning curve to some degree in the big leagues, but we can make sure that there's other things that they don't have to learn that allows them to be able to survive and contribute.
The analytics to the game. Do you, I know as a manager, you had to be aware of them, and I don't know whether you embraced them tremendously or not, but in what you're teaching, do they play any part in anything? The analytics, the new speed cameras and all that?
Absolutely. The cameras from a fundamental standpoint can help you. The slow motion cameras are more for like pitch release and that. I don't get into that too much. I'm a look, our game has always been analytical. This is a statistically driven game. There's no other sport that values its numbers as much as baseball. And the romantic connection with Cal Streak, DiMaggio streak, you know, Ted Williams hitting 406, you know, and I think always there's been some of the most forward-thinking managers in the game. Well, one of them was Earl Weaver. Earl Weaver believed in, he's famous for the 3-run homer, but Earl wanted you to get on and walk before the 3-run homer. Earl knew about platoon systems, Renicky and Lowenstein, you know, so Tony La Russa, who's a mentor of mine and turned into be a dear friend, has turned into be a dear friend, helped revolutionize bullpen matchups.
Yep.
And so, but now we're able to get more clarity so we can make better decisions in a game and have an idea, but still, as Tony would say, there's a level of, he would say to me, trust your gut, don't try to cover your butt, and that's getting harder to do to some degree, but I embrace analytics. They're wonderful tools. I use them in player development because they can help crystallize what a player needs to work on individually and then what a team can work on and say we have trouble with X or Y. And because really it's all about being efficient with our time because there are resources we don't get back. The season has a start date. It's February 19th. Feels like a long season, but guess what the season has? The season has an end date. And you're racing against being as productive as possible and being incrementally better every day to where you can be one of the teams standing to give yourself a chance to win that ring at the end of the year. And for me, I've embraced, understood, and used analytics to be able to help me navigate that. So it's really important. And then the wrap up piece is the art to it of the science, Stan, is being able to understand how to individualize it and how to make it simple and actionable to help understand how it's going to allow you to win a baseball game at the major league level.
Just a couple more questions, Mike. I really appreciate your time. If you had to hit the nail on what drove you away from wanting to manage, right? What would it be?
You get to a certain age, Stan. I was 57 years old and just looked up and first of all, I never thought of manage. You're kidding me, right? I didn't play. I started out professional baseball in an era where you had to have played at least minor league baseball to get into coaching, even minor league baseball. And I started as a scout. And so the ability for me to manage was and still is like unbelievable. And I enjoyed it. But I looked up and the most enjoyable part, and I got to pause here, Stan, because will say this. The thing that I missed the most about it is the clubhouse that we had in San Diego and the group of players that were in there, because that was a real brotherhood that came together and did some really cool things for 2 years, setting franchise records and wins, attendance, and taking the Dodgers to the end of both seasons for the division and had them on the hook in the playoffs in 24. And so, those were special things that I always cherish. But when I recognized last year, I spent 5 minutes a day with Luis Ariz at first base and helped him with some things defensively. And then we got a Hearn from the Orioles. And when I realized that those were the happiest I was for those 5 days, 5 minutes rather, and I got through the season, I was honest with myself and said, you know what, I want more balance in my life. I don't know that I have it in me, and because I know what it takes to win 90 games in the big leagues. I've done it, and I just want to go teach the game and be able to have some look up with the whatever's remaining in my life and get back to the game, teach the game, and enjoy it from that lens, and then also have some off the field harmony as well, and see what life's about away from the field that this role allows me to have. So maybe a little long answer to your question, but that was the ultimate crux of the decision.
Got one last question for you. You mentioned Earl Weaver. I did talk radio in Baltimore for about 20 plus years, and I go back to the 80s. So I remember asking Weaver, I said, Earl, I'm noticing that catchers now, when there's a play at the plate, they don't toss their mask, they keep it on. And it's always bothered me because I don't think you can see the ball. You have blind spots with the runner and the ball. Do you think, especially in light of the new rules where you can't really collide with the catcher, that catchers should toss the mask?
I believe at the big league level with something like that, that's more of a player preference.
Okay.
You know, with Yachty, I mean, first of all, what was I going to tell Yachty or Molina, you know? um, so I really believe that, you know, those guys, if they can keep their mask on and see the baseball, then great. The masks have changed, as you are well aware, over the
Yeah.
years. Um, but I always thought that was more of a preference
Personal
that
preference. Yeah.
you know that a big league player's earned the right to decide.
All right. Hey, really appreciate your time today, Mike, and I look forward. Maybe we can grab you during the season sometime.
Whatever you need, Stan, and whatever the Orioles want me to be able to represent, I'll be more than happy to be a part. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, sir.
All right. Mike Shildt, he's now the Orioles upper level minor league coordinator of instruction. We thank you and good luck this season and the seasons ahead with the Orioles. I think it's a position they greatly need.
Yes, I'm excited, and it's a good time to be an Oriole.
All right. Sounds good. Talk to you down the road.
All right, Stan. Appreciate you,
All
sir.
right. Thank you. We
Yes,
thank the
sir.
Costas Inn for sponsoring these shows. Thank Mike Shildt. I'm Stan the Fan Charles, and we'll see you down the road pretty soon. Bye.